Why you answer the phone talking about what? You mad at me?
Huh? Say what?
Why you answer? Huh?
Say what? My phone.
Yeah, fix that shit. I ain't heard from you in a while. Where you been?
Home?
You found
That's you in a while.
you found your new nigga or something?
No? I was looking at something.
Oh, you missed it.
You on live?
Oh, what?
You lying.
Does it matter?
I'm just saying. You
You
did that to me last time.
you hate to publicly acknowledge that you missed this? You missed this or not?
It's not that. It's not knowing when I'm on live or not.
So what? Does it matter? Does it matter?
It's not.
Okay. So do you miss the or what?
This didn't feel like a normal live. It felt like a setup. The kind where everyone smiles at first, the chat is moving fast, and then out of nowhere the floor drops out. Blueface logged on thinking he was in control, but the internet had other plans. Because while he was talking, Nevaeh was watching. And when she spoke, the energy in that live shifted so hard it felt like someone inflected confidence mid-sentence. What followed wasn't just awkward. It was humiliating. Receipts started flying, faces tightened, and the chat went from laughing emojis to jaw on the floor shock in seconds. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Stunna Girl reportedly hit her breaking point and stormed off like a reality show exit that producers dream about but never get on camera. Silence, confusion, screenshots. Immediately labeled historic. This wasn't shade. This wasn't playful banter. This was the kind of public unraveling that makes reality TV look scripted and the Kardashians look like they argue politely behind closed doors. Nevaeh didn't expose him loudly, she exposed him calmly, which somehow hit harder. Blueface wasn't prepared, Stunna wasn't amused, and the internet smelled blood. Because when a live turns into a courtroom, the chat becomes the jury. And once humiliation goes viral, there's no deleting the replay. The live didn't start chaotic. That's the trick. It started smooth, casual, almost boring, the kind of energy that makes people drop their guard. Blueface was talking like a man who thought the room belonged to him, like the narrative was already locked and the audience was just there to clap, laugh, and move on. Confidence on 10. Awareness on 0. Because what he didn't realize was that this wasn't a live, it was a trapdoor disguised as a conversation. Nevaeh didn't barge in. She didn't scream. She didn't wave receipts like a reality show villain auditioning for a reunion couch. She did something far more dangerous. She spoke calmly. And calm exposure is lethal. It doesn't look messy. It looks believable. The moment she started talking, the chat slowed down like everyone collectively leaned closer to their screens. This wasn't gossip anymore. This felt personal. The background here matters because Blueface doesn't exist in a vacuum. His entire public image is built on chaos management, controlling narratives, redirecting blame, and turning uncomfortable moments into jokes before they can land. He survived breakups, call-outs, and viral embarrassments by laughing first and letting the internet chase itself in circles. But this time, the formula didn't work. Because Nevaeh wasn't chasing him. She was standing still and letting him run into his own reflection. What made the moment explosive was timing. This wasn't a delayed interview. This wasn't a post with comments disabled. This was live. No edits, no buffer. Just real-time reactions as statements landed and Blueface visibly struggled to pivot. You could hear it in his tone, those little pauses where confidence cracks, where someone realizes they're no longer steering the conversation. Nevaeh's words didn't accuse directly. She implied. She referenced patterns. She pointed out inconsistencies the way someone does when they know the truth doesn't need volume. And the internet caught it instantly. Comments shifted from jokes to wait, to not this crazy in under a minute. Because when exposure feels unplanned, people believe it more. Blueface tried to laugh it off. That's always the first defense. Humor as armor. But the jokes didn't land. They hovered awkwardly and fell flat, like punchlines delivered to an empty room. Every attempt to regain control only made the imbalance more obvious. The audience wasn't laughing with him, they were watching him. And that's the worst position to be in on a live. Then came the receipts by memory. Not screenshots yet. Just details, dates, situations that lined up a little too cleanly to dismiss. Nevaeh wasn't ranting. She was narrating. And narration hits different than accusations. It sounds rehearsed even when it's not. And that makes people uncomfortable in the best way. The chat started doing the math for her, connecting dots faster than Blueface could interrupt, and that's when Stunna Girl's presence became impossible to ignore. Up until that point, she'd been part of the atmosphere, reacting, listening, visibly annoyed but contained. But the more Nevaeh spoke, the tighter the tension got. This wasn't just about Blueface anymore. It was about loyalty, embarrassment, and being dragged into a narrative you didn't sign up for in real time. Stunna's energy shifted from passive irritation to visible frustration. You could feel it building. The kind of frustration that doesn't explode immediately but simmers until one last comment tips it over. She wasn't there to play mediator. She wasn't there to be collateral damage. And as Nevaeh continued, it became clear that whatever was being said wasn't just uncomfortable, it was humiliating. The humiliation wasn't loud. That's what made it brutal. Blueface wasn't being yelled at. He was being exposed in front of an audience that had already made up its mind that something was off. His reactions gave him away more than any accusation could. The forced smiles, the defensive jokes, the subtle attempts to change the subject. Every move screamed, "I wasn't ready for this." The internet thrives on moments like this. Not because they're funny, but because they feel real. This wasn't a polished scandal. This was raw. Messy in a quiet way. The kind of mess that doesn't trend because it's flashy, but because it feels like watching someone lose control of a story they thought they owned. And then came the breaking point. Stunna Girl didn't argue. She didn't explain. She did what people do when they realize staying means becoming part of the embarrassment. She left. Stormed off, abrupt, no dramatic speech. Just absence. And that absence hit harder than any rant could have. The chat exploded. Screenshots were taken instantly. Clips started circulating before the live even ended. People labeled it everything from iconic to career-ending within minutes. The narrative was no longer forming, it had formed. Blueface didn't just lose control of the live. He lost control of the moment. What followed were first reactions that split cleanly down the middle. Some fans rushed to his defense, claiming Nevaeh was clout-chasing or twisting stories. Others said the calm delivery made it impossible to dismiss. Neutral viewers weren't neutral for long. Because when someone storms off and someone else looks cornered, the optics write their own headline. The sarcasm online was immediate and ruthless. People joked that Blueface got reverse jumped by accountability. Others said Nevaeh turned a live into a TED Talk on inconsistency. Memes popped up comparing the moment to reality show breakdowns and courtroom cross-examinations. But underneath the jokes was a real shift in perception. This wasn't just another messy moment. This felt like a crack in the armor. A rare instance where Blueface couldn't laugh his way out, couldn't redirect fast enough, couldn't drown the moment in noise. The calm exposure changed the rules that by the time the live ended, or more accurately, collapsed, the damage was already done. The story wasn't waiting for recaps. It was rewriting itself in real time across platforms. And everyone knew this was just the beginning. Because humiliation doesn't end when the camera turns off. It multiplies when the replay starts. Once the live ended, or more accurately, once it fell apart, the internet did what it always does when it smells vulnerability. It swarmed. Clips escaped containment in minutes, chopped, looped, captioned, and weaponized across every platform that rewards chaos. This wasn't a recap cycle. It was a feeding frenzy. Every angle got its own narrative. Every pause became a thesis, and every facial expression turned into a meme with a PhD in disrespect. Reaction videos popped up before Blueface could even regroup. Influencers went live for context, which is influencer code for I'm about to add gasoline and call it commentary. Some pretended to be neutral while dragging the moment frame by frame. Others picked sides immediately, declaring Nevaeh calm but lethal and Blueface confident, until the match started mathing. The speed was brutal. The verdicts came faster than the buffering. Memes took the wheel and drove this thing off a cliff. Screenshots of Blueface's forced smile were paired with captions like "When the truth logs in early." Clips of Nevaeh speaking calmly got overlaid with courtroom sound effects and gavel slams. Someone edited the live like a reality show trailer, complete with dramatic pauses and zoom-ins, and it went viral in under an hour. This wasn't commentary, it was cultural vandalism with a ring light, and Stunna Girl storm off. That became the moment. Not because she yelled, not because she cursed anyone out, but because she left. In internet logic, leaving is louder than screaming. It read like a boundary being set in real time. A refusal to be collateral damage in a humiliation she didn't schedule. Fans split immediately. One side praised her for not playing along with nonsense. The other side accused her of abandoning ship when things got uncomfortable. Either way, her exit sealed the scene. Celebrity edges and voices started chiming in. The kind who never say names but say just enough to be obvious. Subtweets appeared with eyeball emojis and vague warnings about patterns. Lives popped up with people saying they've been peeped this energy. Even silence from certain corners became content. When people who usually talk nonstop suddenly don't, the internet assumes they're holding back something explosive. Blueface tried to laugh it off afterward, but the laughter didn't travel. His attempts at control sounded like damage control, and damage control never trends the way exposure does. Every follow-up post got ratioed by clips from the live. Every joke got answered with roll the tape. It didn't matter what he said next, the internet had already decided which version of him it believed, and that version was frozen mid-blink. Mid-pause, mid-deflection. Nevaeh, meanwhile, became the unexpected centerpiece of the escalation. Her calm delivery aged well in the algorithm. The more people replayed it, the more convincing it sounded. Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it didn't try to be. People said it felt like watching someone finally say the quiet part without chasing applause. And in a digital world addicted to volume, restraint felt revolutionary. Public outrage morphed from shock into sport. Comment sections turned into debate stages where strangers argued like they had personal stakes. One camp accused Nevaeh of timing it for maximum embarrassment. Another argued that timing doesn't matter when truth shows up. The third camp didn't care either way, they were just there for the chaos, popcorn in hand, refreshing feeds like it was a playoff game. Pop culture comparisons got more unhinged by the hour. People said the Live had reunion episode energy without the couches. Others compared it to a courtroom cross-examination where the witness talks themselves into trouble. Some joked that Blueface got humbled by a calm tone and an internet connection. It was savage, relentless, and exactly how online narratives evolve when empathy loses the algorithmic battle. The wildest part was how fast speculation hardened into belief. People stopped saying it looked like and started saying this proves. Old rumors got resurrected and stitched into the present like they'd been waiting for their cue. Patterns were identified, labeled, and repeated until they sounded official. And once repetition sets in, the internet doesn't care about corrections. It cares about cohesion. Brands and collaborators noticed. You could feel the shift. Posts got fewer likes from certain corners. Tags disappeared. Mentions dried up. Nobody announced anything, but the recalibration was obvious. In influencer culture, Full doesn't always come with statements, it comes with silence where opportunities used to be. Stunna Girl's role kept evolving in the narrative. Some framed her as collateral damage who refused to play a role in someone else's exposure arc. Others speculated about what she knew and when she knew it. Her absence after the storm-off became its own storyline. People read meaning into every move, every non-move, every lack of comment. In the absence of clarity, imagination runs wild. And then there were the think pieces. The ones that pretend to be above it all while still riding the wave. People debated whether public humiliation is accountability or cruelty, whether lives should come with consequences, and whether calm exposure is more dangerous than rage. Nobody agreed. Everyone had an opinion. And the algorithm rewarded all of it equally. By the end of this phase, the story had ballooned beyond the live itself. It wasn't just about what was said, it was about power, control, embarrassment, and who gets to own the narrative when things go left in real time. The live became a symbol, a reference point that would get pulled out every time Blueface tried to reassert control. And that's when it became clear. This wasn't a moment that would pass quietly. The internet had tasted vulnerability, and it doesn't let go once it does. The only question left wasn't whether this would have consequences, it was how deep they would go. And who else would get pulled into the fallout when the dust started settling? It didn't reveal clarity, it revealed consequences. Quiet ones. The kind that don't trend immediately but linger like smoke in a closed room. Blueface didn't just walk away from that live embarrassed. He walked away with a version of himself the internet decided to keep. And once the internet keeps a version of you, it doesn't ask permission before replaying it every time your name pops up. The humiliation stuck because it wasn't loud. It wasn't theatrical. It was understated, and that made it believable. The calm exposure aged like fine wine in an algorithm that usually rewards chaos. Every replay made Blueface look less in control and Nevaeh look more composed. That imbalance reshaped perception in a way no apology tour could easily undo. People didn't remember the jokes he told, they remembered the pauses, the deflections, the look of someone realizing the narrative had slipped out of reach. Reputation-wise, this hit differently. Not like a scandal you can laugh off or drown out with another viral moment. This one reframed him. The conversation shifted from he's messy to he got caught. And that distinction matters online. Messy is entertaining. Caught is sticky. Caught follows you into future lives, interviews, and comment sections. It becomes shorthand, a reference, a punchline that doesn't need explaining. Nevaeh's role solidified in a way nobody predicted. She wasn't crowned a hero or a villain, she became a catalyst. The person people point to and say, that's when it changed. Her calm delivery turned into a benchmark, proof that exposure doesn't need theatrics to land. The internet, starved for authenticity, latched onto that contrast. Loud men versus quiet truth, chaos versus composure. The narrative practically wrote itself. Stunna Girl's storm off carried long-term weight too. That exit didn't just end a live, it drew a boundary. And boundaries confused the internet. Some viewers applauded it as self-respect in real time. Others read it as silent confirmation that things were worse than they looked. Either interpretation fueled speculation. Her refusal to stay and play the role of supportive background noise changed how people viewed her position in the chaos. Absence became evidence, and evidence doesn't need to be accurate to be effective. Relationships felt the pressure immediately. Not just romantic ones, but alliances, friendships, and working dynamics. When public embarrassment happens at that scale, people start choosing distance as a survival tactic. Group chats go quiet. Collaborations pause. Invitations stop coming. Nobody announces it, but everyone feels it. That's the real aftermath, when access quietly disappears and you realize the room got colder without anyone saying why. Public perception hardened into something less forgiving. Fans who once defended everything now added qualifiers. I still support, but is the beginning of a long goodbye online. Critics felt validated, replaying the live like it was exhibit in a case they'd already decided. Neutral viewers weren't neutral anymore. They'd seen the crack. And once you see a crack, you can't unsee it. The most uncomfortable shift was how quickly the narrative became permanent. This moment didn't exist in isolation, it rewired how every future action would be interpreted. A joke would be read as deflection. Confidence would be read as arrogance. Silence would be read as avoidance. The margin for error shrank overnight. When the internet decides you lost control once, it watches closely for the sequel. Blueface's attempts to move forward felt different after that. Even when he tried to pivot, the comments dragged him back. Play the clip, remember the live, Asked Nevaeh, the past became a tool the audience used to keep him in check. And that's the cruel irony. Humiliation doesn't just embarrass you. It democratizes power. Suddenly, everyone feels entitled to hold you accountable, loudly and endlessly. Meanwhile, the broader culture absorbed the lesson. Calm exposure became a new trend. People started saying less and letting silence do the work. The live became a case study in how not to underestimate someone who isn't performing for the camera. It proved that you don't need theatrics to flip a room. You need timing, composure, and an audience already suspicious. The story didn't end with a statement or an apology. It faded into that dangerous zone where unresolved moments live. The kind that resurface months later when nobody expects it. A clip goes viral again. A comment reignites debate. Someone references it in passing, and the whole thing breathes again. Unfinished narratives are immortal online. They don't die, they hibernate. What made this saga linger was its relatability. People saw power shift in real time. They saw confidence crack. They saw someone lose control without a single shout. That hits deeper than chaos because it feels possible. It feels like something that could happen to anyone with a camera and too much confidence. And that's why it stuck. By the end, the biggest consequence wasn't embarrassment, it was recalibration. How people listened, how they watched, how they interpreted every move afterward. The live didn't just expose a moment. It exposed a vulnerability the internet won't forget. And that's the final twist. Not the storm off, not the memes, not the clips. It's the quiet understanding that once the audience sees you lose the room, they never fully give it back. They just wait for the next pause, the next slip, the next moment when confidence and reality collide again. And let's not pretend this was just another messy live that'll disappear by tomorrow. Moments like this don't fade, they fossilize. They get bookmarked in internet history, replayed every time someone says, "Nah, remember when?" This wasn't just embarrassment. This was a public power shift, and the timeline felt every ounce of it. So if your face scrunched up, your mouth dropped open, or you replayed that clip just to make sure you didn't imagine it, go ahead and smash that like button like it owes you rent and try to duck the payment. Hit it with conviction. Then slide into the comments and tell the truth you've been typing in your notes app. Was this overdue accountability or perfectly timed humiliation? Did Nevaeh speak facts, or did Blueface walk straight into a setup? And was Stunna's storm off self-respect or silent confirmation? This comment section is the real reunion episode. No commercials, no filter. And don't just watch from the sidelines, subscribe. Because Celeb SYNC is where lives get dissected, egos get tested, and viral moments turn into full-blown investigations. While other channels skim the surface and move on, we pause the clip, rewind the energy, and break down what really shifted in the room. Scandals don't knock anymore, they log in unannounced, and we're already waiting. Turn on notifications too, because the next meltdown, exposure, or walk-off never comes with a schedule. One live, one sentence, one calm voice.